This week on Hermitcraft. Months in the making, here after surviving the update, the technical marvel unrivaled by anything else in the district, it's the shop everyone's been waiting for, iTrade, now back in business. Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixel Riffs, our writer is LoyXP, and we've seen at least 2 Hermitcraft members start their videos by asking the comments to please stop screaming #ShopAtSahara. It feels fitting to ask our fans to do the same, as, need we remind you, we're not on the waitlist and physically can't even if we wanted to. But at least the actual Hermitcraft members can, now that Sahara is in its beta phase and iTrade has come back. All around a grand week for those of us with spare cash laying about. For what you can get for free though, the Armor Stand book has been updated with new features such as convenient item placement on the ground, walls and tool racks, brought to you by the Stick God, praise be unto it. And with all that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
I'm sorry, but we all thought about it, let's be honest.
Starting with Rendog, as he's being blown up by the Architect trio. His is truly the purest perspective of the Sahara opening.
Okay, here's my idea. We kill him, okay, we bury him, get rid of him, make him disappear. We have enough money, we're fine. Nobody saw this.
As the fanfare played and the ribbon was cut, Ren managed to dodge the line and got to be the first person ever to do the hashtag. Naturally, none of the epic speeches convinced the machinery to work as intended. Everything that could go wrong used this opportunity to embarrass itself on camera.
Have some face! Ordered arrived at shopfront!
How did
I
you
got
get a
the
receipt?
Wait, so you got a receipt, but you didn't get the item?
Where are my goods?
Go, that's Sahara in a nutshell. You get charged for things that don't actually arrive.
Turns out it was another potato, the true nemesis of the hermit kind.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Never touch the system.
It literally took our architect potato heads an entire afternoon to get the grand opening of Sahara running.
On a second try, now with more signs and fewer carbs in the system, Ren does get his items, along with a hefty unintentional discount on the beacon. In the words of a wise man, so long, suckers.
There's the 3 diamonds, thank you very much.
The price.
I think I'm going to get some more beacons if that's okay.
No.
Although he does return to the storefront later to participate in one of the other traditions of Amazon-like stores, leaving a long-winded customer review. And it really is a well-camouflaged roast, seeing as how it averages to about 2.5 stars.
And remember, young one, beyond your fear lies the path.
Yeah, now about the Hamtaro thing. While working on the sewers underneath the fantasy district and simultaneously planning a Japanese-inspired area, Ren seems to have been bitten by a radioactive rodent and transformed himself into the master of 4 derpy reptiles. While he's dispensing wisdom and planning his new dojo build, all they seem to want to do is get those vines that are growing in the other room, which presumably contain the secret of the ooze.
For many years I have lived in the shadows, training my sons in the ways of ninjutsu. I have tried to prepare them for the worst that the world has to offer, hoping it would never come.
Ultimately, the design he settles on requires a bunch of red nether brick. After an unsuccessful shopping trip where someone seems to be one step ahead of him in the netherwort and red nether brick department, he builds a giant netherwort farm only to find the mystery shopper has dropped off a shulker box of the stuff for him after all. It won't be enough, but patience is a virtue. What he does manage to buy is all the smooth quartz from the Concorp UFO over at Hermitville, with the intention of using it to snazz up the dragon skeleton back at the fantasy district. But while he's there, he saves the village population from their inevitable lava baths in the nether by repositioning the village nether portal and building a tower around it.
Looks kind of nice, so yeah, just houses our portal so that the villagers can't just keep walking into the nether, which they were doing quite frequently. Cool, so they made it super secure, so no villagers can possibly get out.
The hole in the market left by Quartz, Warts and Shorts not restocking will soon be filled by Xisuma as he adds a netherwarp farm to the things to do at his tower bay. He too finds himself in need of red nether brick, as it's what the design of the altar at the Pillager Cathedral calls for. At the head of it, Xisuma brings in something from the Minecraft Dungeons trailer, the Arch-Illager fellow, though bigger in size and slightly off by a block just so it fits the uneven distance between the cathedral's walls.
This has all the potential to be epic, but the too wide thing, it's just not quite working. And look at this. That is beautiful. That looks really quite menacing now.
Whether or not it's His Highness that whispers to him to go crusade at the Wither Forest remains a mystery. Luckily, X had his god tier armour on.
There's a gang of them. Whoa! Hello! We must have seen about 10 or 12 all moving in the same direction.
Now, if only Wells Knight had the same get-up, the poor guy was taken out by a creeper, once with all his stuff disappearing. Before the comments could convince him to buy the Did You Die box, Wells starts construction on a sizable manor outside the Hermitville walls, though the whole being exploderated thing sets him back a bit.
Actually not bad. That actually looks like fairly okay. I definitely need to make a couple little tweaks to some of it.
It's not hard to see why Doc M spends part of his week convincing unzombified villagers to give him a sensible price on blast, fire and projectile protection books, and to prove it all works, he takes a quick shower in the curtain of lava around his piston bolt. Maybe he's just trying to scrub himself clean after seeing what an Iskall-themed Jack-in-the-Box would look like.
Hello! Yes. Wait, we need to pay the slot machine a little bit.
Or maybe he's trying to safeguard himself against explosive material, because most of Doc's week is spent planning, surprise surprise, another piston bolt, and instead of digging out the tunnel himself, he puts some time into building a slime block tunnel bore that launches TNT at the cave wall in front of it.
Fingers crossed, right? Normally what happens if you build complex limestone TNT, including machines, it'll blow up.
It blows up, in quite a spectacular fashion at first. The second attempt works a little better until he comes across a natural cave, and a creeper decides it wants a ride on its big explodey cousin. Needless to say, by the next episode, Doc has installed some headlights. A less explosive solution would just be to hire TFC, who has a pretty solid track record with mining at this point, and will even give you any lapis he finds free of charge. That doesn't stop Xisuma from repaying him handsomely anyway. And while he's not keen on blasting or even using blast furnaces, TFC does swap out the furnaces in his kelp smelter for smokers, so he can burn through the literal thousands of stacks in his storage system at twice the speed.
And so on, all the way down until all 16 furnaces have been replaced, and all of my gear has been repaired as much as possible. I guess I can't fix that.
The diamonds from X actually get put to good use in the end because he decides to put together a set of mending armor for special occasions. This necessitates a trip to iTrade, which has recently come back into stock with a handful of useful books, although it's not enough to outfit the full set of diamond gear, so he even sticks his head into Biffa's book boutique just in case. You might question how he was able to buy any books at all from iTrade, which was lacking 3/4 of its villager population the last time we saw it. This week, Impulse moves the remaining villagers down to the basement level and decides to completely rework the inside of the store. Conducting all the villager trading from the comfort of his own base, iTrade becomes a pretty straightforward bookstore. You rock up with your diamonds, drop 2 in the chest, and take the book away. It doesn't even take 2 minutes to arrive via minecart or anything.
My goal is to have every one of these chests filled. No emerald stuff going on, they just need to pay with diamonds.
Thankfully, Concorp is not really short on profits, although that was their one storefront reliant on renewable resources. Pumpkins can be farmed, terracotta, not so much. So Cubfan finds himself mining the fancy clay, fixing the farms, and needing 700 shulker boxes. Those ones are not for sale, mind you, though how exactly they fit into the future running of the Ravagers minigame is baffling.
And we could take some from the shop, but the shop also had a bunch of sales recently, so we're going to have to delay that until next episode, working on the Ravager run.
Joe Hills also breaks out the pickaxe and uses it to break out the diamonds, because, as he puts it, people keep asking him to pay for stuff.
There's a lot of stuff that people have been asking me to do on the server lately, and all of it costs diamonds. So here we go, here's some diamonds. Let's see how many we got. We got 2 diamonds, whew!
Once he's acquired said diamonds, he decides to run away before he spends them all. Locating an uninhabited island off the coast of somewhere, he starts building a hermitage based on a Dungeons & Dragons book. Although judging by the size of the island and the sandstone foundations he ends up laying, it seems this one will be smaller than his last build based on a Dungeons & Dragons book. Help might be on its way, as both Zombie Cleo and Falsesymmetry build a ship each this week. False's one will definitely have an easier time arriving though, as it is not being bombarded with player-head cannonballs.
Anyway, this guy has walked out onto the deck just with his sword. He's grabbed his sword from the other side, and then he just realises, oh, I have coming right at me, like right now, a cannonball.
Who knew the sailors were running on Wile E. Coyote physics? Chances are the island of Tormund Giantsbane will get quite some mileage out of the Armor Stand book update.
When this season inevitably ends, and I don't think it's going to end for a while, what I want is for people to come in and take a poke around my bills and go, ooh, I didn't know that was in there.
On the other hand, this one figured out how to put the sails away now that it's harboured, whereas False's one is proudly displaying its purple wool. Perhaps it is departing with all that crew it doesn't have on board. Sea etiquette aside, it's a really pretty build, adding some elven overtones to the already fantasy-themed area, which you would think would be broken up by adding a regular old wheat farm, but here we are. Luckily, the rose bushes and the custom tree do the trick.
Dude, it looks like a proper, flower garden. Why have I never done this before in my life? This is so sweet.
Stressmonster starts her episode 50 tour under her own custom tree, but that's just the first stop on a grand journey through all she's accomplished so far this season. From the ice fort and its chicken-killing mazes, to the much more friendly Treat Your Chick Ranch, to the Amethyst Cave and the bits of the G-Team base that she was responsible for. If you're looking for a jumping on point for Stress's series, this is a great time to get on board. She's even got the train ready for you.
Okay, can you tell I'm pretty excited about doing a tour right now? I feel like I'm talking far too quickly for everybody. If I am, I apologise.
And finally, there's Grian, Mumbo, Iskall, and Scar, in a trench coat, stacked on top of each other, pretending to be a single really tall adult. No matter how many Saharas they open together, the Architect trio won't lay to rest the whole tallest house rivalry, and Good Times with Scar is not one to give up either.
You know what they say about people that compensate with very tall houses in Minecraft.
Turns out a wild Scar, when threatened, will sprout a laser cannon and cut down the competition by a block or two with science and roleplay, which is how Grian's breakout tower breaks out and lands peak first in a field nearby.
This is a good message to Grian that I'll see you at the top.
To boot, Scar calls in environmental protective reinforcements to deal with the fallout of his rocket crashing into Hermitville some time ago, and in some time the hazmat armor stands undig the blown reactor, causing the area to stay burning. In their wisdom, the HIP bury it back in there, hoping the rads just won't find their way upwards, I guess. Which they did, so much so that the tree planted at the footprint of it mutates and sprouts a giant stalk all the way to Scar's rocket house, even adding a couple of blocks to the height of it and bringing him to the front of the space race.
Also, having a base in the ground connecting to the house makes it more official. So,
Content with this, Scar departs to his pirate islands to fortify them in all available kinds of sandstone. Speaking of islands and sand, Iskall's new Mushroom Island base has an offshore ocean monument waiting to be converted into a farm. Rather than continue splitting the profits with his business rival at Concorp, Iskall sets up a Sahara-exclusive farm thanks to some inputs from the technical wizardry of Nembon. Framed in concrete and glass, the new farm gives him 2 double chests of drops within half an hour, which means a lot of fish, but also a lot of easy money.
Sahara got lanterns. I can watch this thing all day.
Fish aren't the only thing he puts in tanks. Iskall's response to the ongoing escalation of Hermitville housing is to surround his house, anvil, second house, and balloon in a glass tank, then build a scale model of the Empire State Building on top of it. And some say when the last balloon falls, Iskall will remain the beast forever. In the process, he also adopts Batman.
I don't have an Iskall head here, but he's Batman now.
You've got it all wrong, Iskall. Robin's the adopted one. Grian finds himself fighting on 2 fronts now that both Iskall and Scar have outrun him. It's clear that in the age of laser weapons, just building up is not enough. You have to fight back. And so he does, redirecting Scar's laser with an iron mirror to hit the top of Iskall's roof, plus assembling a catapult that launches a sizable rock chunk right at the flower of Scar's overgrown plant. In the meantime, the replay mod comes out, and he can time-lapse to his heart's content, so the house build-up is shown to us with amazing camera swooshes. Mumbo decides he's above it all. Back from tinkering with Sahara and having shoveled the snow off his rocket, it's time to launch his final effort in the contest. After adding a smoke trail with stained glass and getting the reaction from Grian that he was hoping for, it might be time to call it quits.
He has been bested. That is the best thing ever.
especially since Grian has been tinkering with his other redstone projects like farms, which had too many obvious buttons and levers to pull. It doesn't look like anything has actually broken, but just to be safe, Mumbo installs a special button just for Grian to push if he turns up again. Even Mumbo can see that's still no guarantee really, so he opts to build a few zero-tick farms at his main base too. The sign of a true friendship is when you have to build farms in triplicate and hope he only finds 2 of them. And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is PixelRiffs. In the end screen, you will find Zloy building a pumpkin farm with waterlogged repeaters and trying to sell Bitcoin to his server mates. So that's worth watching. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.